Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates. Yesterday we had the big reveal of the reveal, I guess you could say. Basically they told us what we will be seeing at EA Play June 10th. And the biggest discussion of them all was probably about REY being on Naboo, fighting droids and Darth Maul. The community had quite a big outburst about this, and I did tweet quite a lot about it yesterday, and this really brought me back to Star Wars Celebration when we had the Q&A session with Dennis, the lead designer on the game. He basically said when we asked about cross-era play for heroes that was one of the hardest design decisions for the game that they still hadn't decided about back then, and I still don't think they've decided completely. And now, after seeing the community's reaction to this announcement, I completely understand why he said that, because it's going to be impossible to please everyone. That is simply something we have to accept. Jared from Star Wars Gaming Outpost made this little poll yesterday, just like quickly asking if people wanted or didn't want cross-era play with heroes, and 60% said yes, so the majority still preferred this announcement, although 40%, which is a quite big chunk, said no, which I think is quite interesting and really shows why this is such a tough question to answer. So I thought in this video I wanted to give you my thoughts on it and also bring up the bad and good parts of cross-era play with heroes and how they could possibly handle it in the final game. The first thing I just want to mention is that this is a demo, alpha I guess you could call it, or they haven't officially said so, but it's a demo version that will be at EA Play, and they're showing off the two heroes that are on the cover for the official game. So this doesn't necessarily mean that it will be like this when the full game is released, although they did talk about cross-era play with heroes earlier as well. But I also want to say that they're probably very open to changing this based on community feedback, just like they did with helmetless stormtroopers. So I think we simply have to play the game and then judge it, because hopefully during a potential alpha and then a beta we will get a good chance to see if this is something we want or something we don't want. So what about the advantages and disadvantages? Well, as for advantages of having cross-era play, there's quite a lot of them gameplay wise. First of all, since they did say we're gonna have progression with each hero, it means that if you put in a lot of effort into progressing one specific hero, you will be able to play that hero whenever you want. Well, as long as you're on the right side, which means 50% of the games. And if they don't have cross-era play, and you want to play a specific hero, you will only be able to play that hero every 6th game, and that's also if that hero isn't taken already, meaning that it's gonna take a very long time for you to play the hero you want. And on top of that, you will have a very slim selection of heroes to pick from each era, unless they add like 30 heroes in total, which I highly doubt. So that's one of the big things that I think speaks for having cross-era play. You will simply have a lot more variation, a lot more options, and you will be able to play the hero that you have progressed and that you want. And the gameplay will also look very different on the different maps, considering that people can pick different types of heroes, which will completely change the game, as compared to if it was always the same hero on the same map all the time. So what about the disadvantages or the advantage of having non-cross-era play? Well, basically the only advantage is authenticity. And that is for some people a very big thing, which I completely respect. Personally, I think gameplay is 100 times more important than authenticity, as long as you don't have something really strange that just doesn't fit all together. But heroes for me, on all maps, is a lot more important than just seeing the right hero on the right map. We've already had things like Darth Vader on Jakku, or Krennic fighting Luke, and Krennic was already dead by that time, and things like that, which I really couldn't care less about. Although REY on Naboo is a little bit more severe than that, considering that's like 40 years or 50 years later. So I do understand that people think it's very weird, and I think it's just something that, like I said, it's gonna be impossible for DICE to make this perfect for everyone, because everyone has different reactions. A big part of the community said, yes, this is awesome, I can finally play out my fantasies and face off with any hero I want against any other hero. And that's the same way I felt. But then another big chunk of the community said, what, REY in Clone Wars? That doesn't make any sense, I want to play authentic battles. So the only thing I can come up with is having different types of modes, or maybe even different types of servers, where you can choose if you want to play authentic battles or not. But the problem with that again would be that you would split up the community again. So if you want to play these big 40-player modes with infantry and heroes, but you want to choose if you can do it with authentic setups or if you can do it with cross-era play, well, then that's gonna split the community, and that's the problem we have if we give players a lot of options. So it's really hard to say. I feel like the most realistic thing they could do here, although I personally don't like it, is that they would have cross-era play with game modes like heroes versus villains, but that they will not have cross-era play with things like whatever this game mode on Theed is called, where it's gonna be a lot of droids, vehicles, and of course heroes. On those modes, maybe they should not be cross-era, so that we can only have prequel heroes on those maps with droids, whereas when it's heroes versus villains, you can pretty much pit any hero against any villain. That to me feels like the most realistic option for this, but personally I would still like them to keep cross-era play on all game modes with all heroes, because, well, I just want to play the hero I want to play on the map that I want to play, simply. And if the customization and progression is a significant part of the game, I think most people will agree on that, because it's very hard to judge this before we play the game. I think after a few weeks of playing, people will not care if they see the wrong hero on the wrong map, because they can still choose the hero they want to play. They can play the authentic heroes on those maps, and then they will see some non-authentic heroes running around in the background of the map that they will maybe get a little bit annoyed with, but that's about it. So to summarize my thoughts, I think all the gameplay advantages of having cross-era play with heroes really is a lot bigger than the negative side of having non-authentic battles, especially since heroes are such a small part of the team with 20 people in them. But on the other side, I do see the authentic part as well, and that they need to have something authentic in the game so that not everything has this weird mix of heroes. And it's a very fine line. It's very hard to say what the right decision is, and I think no one really has the ideal solution for it. But I will leave a link to a poll in the description below, where I want to hear your opinion about if you want it or if you don't want it. That's gonna be just yes or no for now. Yes, Sith deals in absolutes, but it's too hard to make more specific options until we have played and know more about the game. So yeah, that was all for this video. I thought it was a very interesting topic to discuss. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.